as opposed to having them come to where we are. And Ravi, you asked at the top, what's the purpose? Why did we start NewCarbon? Because I feel that there's too little of meeting the customers where they are in the energy complex, and that solving the decarbonization problems in our communities, in our value chains, requires going into those situations rather than us just building what we want to build and then having people use those things, which is the base case today. Okay. And that's good. That's important for a lot of the infrastructure needs of our communities and societies. But there's a big swath of infrastructure that needs to be fit for purpose and designed specifically for the needs of that customer.
Welcome to an episode of Strategic Conversations. We host insightful discussions with top business leaders and top business minds. Today, we are joined by Mr. Omar Khayum, the founder and CEO of NewCarbon. Mr. Khayum will be a speaker at the Houston Strategy Forum's upcoming 5th semi-annual Carbon Hydrogen Symposium. He has spoken at the forum several times, and we are excited to host him. Mr. Omar Khayum is one of those people that few years' time, I'm going to be famous because I had the opportunity to host him and interview him. You are going to watch, and this is an incredible man to learn from, and his insights and his intelligence. I am Ravi Kathuria, the president of the Houston Strategy Forum and author of the management and leadership book, How Cohesive is Your Company, and author of Happy Soul, Happy Mind. Strategic Conversations are hosted by the Houston Strategy Forum. If you value these conversations, please hit like and subscribe to the Houston Strategy Forum's YouTube channel. Today's episode is sponsored by Cohesive Management Consulting and Executive Coaching Firm. Thank you for joining us, and we are looking for an insightful discussion with Mr. Khayum. Omar, thank you so much. I am so happy to host you, sir, and I'm looking forward on May 15th when we have you in the room. I mean, that would be a discussion. Just today, our prep discussion here has been, my brain is already buzzing, Omar. I'm so delighted that I know you, sir.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. And I'd encourage those in the energy community, those that are adjacent to the energy community, to attend on May 15th. I think it's going to be a really insightful conversation. There's a lot of change in our communities, in our nation, in the world, and I've found the Houston Strategy Forum as a really welcoming, challenging, and engaging forum for really all forms of businesses and organizations. So really encourage those that are listening to attend on the 15th.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that plug, and we're going to be pleased to hosting you again. I forget if it's the third or the fourth time, but I'm delighted to host you. When we hosted you last, you were head of energy transition, energy evolution for DC Energy, and since then you have now founded a new company, NewCarbon. We congratulate you as the founder and CEO of NewCarbon. Tell us what brought that about. Why did you decide that you want to create NewCarbon?
Yeah, this is just, it's the right time. Is the simplest way to put it, and it's the right time to begin and continue decarbonizing.
Yes.
It's the right time to apply our decades of experience in building and developing clean energy infrastructure into and with the areas that have been missing it the most, which is heavy industry and agriculture. And so that's the purpose of NewCarbon. What we saw is that decarbonization really hasn't reached Main Street.
Yes, that's
and that is our purpose, is to decarbonize Main Street. We think there are a number of traditional and inhibitors to doing that,
yes.
But that don't need to be. the first of which is that decarbonization is a theme. It's not a technology. And so,
I love that point that you made earlier. Would you help my audience understand why you say that?
yeah, look, I don't wake up as if I make aggregates or I mill wheat or I make products that we use every day, right? That's where our emissions are coming from. I don't wake up and say, look, I really want to buy this technology today, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
not my goal. My
Yes.
goal is to
Yes.
sell more product,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
And my
I want to
goal
sell
is to,
more wheat. I want to sell more millets. That's what
yeah,
I want to do.
and I want to
Yes.
do that in a lower carbon way,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So my view is that traditional, and having worked for big energy companies most of my career, those companies are very capable and very good at what they do. However, the challenge of our time in the 21st century is different than the companies, the way that companies have been set up for the 20th century. Okay. And what I mean by that is solving the decarbonization need, helping to sell more product in a lower carbon way requires a combination of technologies. That is our fundamental view. And we've set out to build a company that develops, owns, and operates infrastructure, but is agnostic to the technology, meaning we put combinations of clean energy, whether it's renewable natural gas or renewable power or hydrogen or carbon capture, together in a fit for purpose way. And we just don't design those projects. We develop them, we finance them, we own and operate them. And that combination of things is what is missing, I think,
Yes.
in today's energy infrastructure business, which is mostly technology centric. Okay. And most of that technology centric application is to reduce costs.
Yes.
NewCarbon's purpose is to put multiple technologies together to
Yeah.
decarbonize, but help our customers sell more product. So
Yes.
we're a top line enabler rather than a cost reducer.
Yes.
That is our purpose.
I love that you're technology agnostic, you're product agnostic, you're client centric. So you help the client focus on solving their process challenges, solving and reducing their carbon footprint, and thereby producing a lower carbon product, which then in the marketplace gets greater acceptance, right?
Yes,
And hopefully a lower carbon product which does not have an additional premium that the consumer or their customer has to pay, right? And so if you figure out, and maybe there is a premium, I'd love to dive into that more on May 15th. But this notion, I respect that notion very much about taking companies, because I worry about, we have enough tax incentives, we have regulations that help companies and compensate them for reducing the carbon footprint. But ultimately, if you look at business economics, if you're able to help an industry or a company increase its product sales, its top line, then that gives the incentive, a stronger incentive to really focus on carbon. And so
100%.
I appreciate that. So you have been an entrepreneur. I think this is your third time around, if I'm right.
Yeah, third company I've
Uh,
started.
and as you look at NewCarbon now, it's your third baby. You now have extensive experience working large companies. How are you structuring the? I love this phrase, business DNA, or that will be do business DNA symposium. How do you structure NewCarbon, where its business DNA is something that may actually outlive you as the founder, where you build a company? How do you create this movement, right? What are the key tenets that you're building today that as the company grows, hopefully this becomes a big company? Like I said, I want to be famous by association with you. So you create this massive movement. What are the pieces that you're placing together today to facilitate that, to facilitate uh, that movement?
Yeah. So I think that look, I'm very fortunate. as I mentioned earlier, I think we're in the 21st century. We need 21st century solutions for the challenges of our time. And what that means is I have the benefit of starting with a clean sheet of paper. And what that means is we've started not with uh, which projects we want to do and which customers we want to pursue. We started very intentionally with the development of what is our purpose, what are our values, what is our mission. And that sounds corny, right? Because we learn all those things in business school and right, but they matter. There's a reason
No,
we
they
talk about them,
absolutely do. Yes.
right? Because
In
it
my book,
tells
I
you,
call it business spirit. It's really what drives the organization. Yes.
yeah, it's why we're here. And so for New Carbon, we've been very clear about our values. Okay, we spent a lot of time developing our values and also a lot of time describing what we intend to do. What is our mission? And so I'll start with the values. And the value, number one value is to be maniacal about delighting our customer. So it gets back to your point about being client centric, right? It is establishing a culture where we don't play lip service to everybody wants to provide good service to their customers,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
You hear that all the time.
Now,
Yes.
who
Every
doesn't
company
want to do
says that.
that?
Yeah.
But how many people really do that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So what are the elements of the organizational design? What are
Yeah.
the elements of the business DNA that we put in place to drive customer centricity, right? To actually do the things that we say we aspire to do. And what that means is we have to uh, attempt to be the customer. And what I mean is if we're developing fit for purpose infrastructure, I don't want us to be known just purely as an energy infrastructure company. What I want to be known is a great company that helps sugar companies, wheat companies, manufacturing companies. I want to be known more about and for enablers in other value chains. Okay. And if we can do that, what that means is that we attempt to understand the processing and manufacturing of our clients.
Yes. Yes. I love that because it's the definition of client centric is when you become client centric, when you begin to understand the client's business, perhaps even more, or certainly in your dimension than the client understands, meaning you understand how to reduce the carbon footprint of the client more than the client themselves could understand,
Yeah.
right? And that gives you power and that makes the client engage with you in the right format.
Yeah. And so that's what we do. We go into particular industries, especially in heavy industry and agriculture, and we seek to understand, ask questions, and then we put ourselves out there. We make ourselves vulnerable by attempting to decompose and describe to our own customers what we think they do. And guess what? 100% of the time we're wrong. All right. Uh, but we do that with the greatest humility. And what we are typically find is an incredible response, understanding, acceptance, and embracing of our approach. Because we've taken the effort to meet somebody in an organization where they are, as opposed to having them come to where we are. And Ravi, you asked at the top, what's the purpose? Why did we start NewCarbon? Because I feel that there's too little of meeting the customers where they are in the energy complex, and that solving the decarbonization problems in our communities, in our value chains, requires going into those situations rather than us just building what we want to build and then having people use those things, which is the base case today. Okay. And that's good. That's important for a lot of the infrastructure needs of our communities and societies. But there's a big swath of infrastructure that needs to be fit for purpose
Yes.
and designed specifically for the needs of that customer. And
No,
that's what we're doing.
yeah, I appreciate that very much because I use the example of whether it's a physician or maybe even a physical trainer. A physical trainer brings a lot of skills and technology, but it is bespoke to the specific customer. and to their age and their condition, and then you write the cocktail of drugs or cocktail of exercises, whatever is needed, and then you observe that and you manage that, right? And then you help the uh, the customer improve their condition. In this case, become lower carbon or carbon free, hopefully, but their products can stand out, get differentiated in the marketplace, right? They have a seal of approval from NewCarbon that is right, and then says, look, this is a carbon, and we're willing to
I hope that's the
verify.
case. I hope we can be the gold standard, certainly, for
Yes,
that someday.
yes,
Meaning decarbonization. What I think allows us to further extend and meet the customer where they are, whether, wherever that might be, is another key component of our approach, which is we don't take a technology or project-centric approach.
yes,
We take a value chain approach. So when we go into a marketplace or an industry, the way to decarbonize is one, using multiple technologies, wind in combination with carbon capture, or hydrogen in carbon combination with renewable natural gas. That's an element. There's an integration of the energy complex to
yes,
meet the customer
yes,
where they are.
yes,
But the integration of that energy complex is not also, in my view, just into one segment of the value chain. The
yes,
realization of decarbonization in the real world on Main Street is really across the supply chain, across the value chain. So we've been
yes,
very intentional about not only engaging the manufacturer, but engaging the raw materials provider to that manufacturer, to the logistics provider to that manufacturer, and bringing a coalition together. Not always, but maybe sometimes it's separate, but we're working along that supply chain and value chain so we can identify where best to put projects or technologies in place. And then we win because economically, what we see is the opportunity for what I call carbon arbitrage. Is along that value chain,
yes,
we can identify different places where the infrastructure that we develop is more or less valued,
yes. Omar,
and
I cannot.
we can extract that value.
Yeah, I have run out of time for today's video, but I can't wait to host you May 15th. If you're watching this video, please come join, come find out how Omar and his team is understanding customer drivers and meeting them in their sites and solving that, right? How does he see that? Come join it. It's going to be a fantastic discussion, May 15th. Please join us. Omar, I am so thankful to you that you're going to be part of that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Looking forward to it. See everybody there.